Show. I'm your host, Michael Poggi, alongside William Gilreath and Kai Hamilton. We're here live in Tiger Stadium, a.k.a. Death Valley, right here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Guys, how are we doing on this beautiful Friday?
I'm fantastic. It feels great outside after this week's cold front, but, perfect weather for tomorrow's game.
Yeah, I'm glad the weather really got better. It's a lot warmer. It'll be a lot better. Early game tomorrow, so let's see if Tiger fans show up. We know they don't really love those 11 a.m. noontime games, but we'll see what the crowd looks like at kickoff tomorrow.
Hey, as people that are working it, I'm very happy that it's an 11:45 kickoff. We are back here in Baton Rouge for the final SEC home game of LSU's 2025 regular season. The Fighting Tigers, they take on Arkansas tomorrow at 11:45, like you guys just mentioned, as LSU is coming off a 20-9 loss in Tuscaloosa against top 5 ranked Alabama. So this LSU team has a lot to do, right? They have a lot left to play for, even though they aren't in that, college football playoff where the expectations were. This is a 5-4 team that is still looking to make bowl eligibility, while Arkansas is coming off a bye week after losing to Mississippi State in a tight one, 38-35 in their last time out. So both teams dealing with these interim coaching as they look to obtain the good old golden boot. So we have a lot to talk about today. Let's start with the LSU offense versus the Arkansas defense. This LSU offense struggled once again in Tuscaloosa last week, entering the red zone 4 different times and only coming out with 9 points, as well as committing 7 penalties on the offensive end. So my first question to you guys is, what are you expecting to see from this LSU offense, and is it going to be another disappointing outing?
Well, ultimately, we expect them to score. We need touchdowns. I mean, that's kind of how football works here. But really, I just want to see them have fun. It's the last SEC game. They just got to go out there and do their best.
Yeah, they need 6. They need to be scoring more touchdowns. When you get into the red zone, it's okay to have to settle for a field goal every now and then. But when it's every drive, every time you enter the red zone, it feels like you might as well send your kicker out on first down. But they also need to stop shooting themselves in the foot. Like you mentioned, they committed 7 penalties. A lot of them were procedural penalties. I get it. Your offensive line is young. Your offense isn't really clicking. But that's no excuse to have 7 false starts. That loses you football games. That makes it harder for you to score in the red zone. When you're a team that's not performing to the expectation you might have thought this offense would have had in the preseason, it's those mental errors, those little mistakes that make it even harder for them to execute.
Mm-hmm. What am I expecting from this LSU offense? I'm kind of expecting the same thing.
Me too.
I'm not expecting to see much change. I think we're going to see kind of what we saw last week. Hopefully less penalties, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Since you're in home in a day game, it should be a lot quieter. I think that the next step for this LSU offense is to just move the ball. Mm-hmm. You got to be able to move the ball, and when you have opportunities to move the ball, we've said it almost every week, you got to get 6 instead of 3. And I just don't think that's going to happen again tomorrow night. I think it's going to be I think they will be able to score some touchdowns. This is an Arkansas defense that we'll talk about in a second that is just not very good, but that's the same with this offense at LSU. And so it's going to be two units that are just struggling against each other. It's going to be one ugly matchup, but I think that gives LSU a kind of opportunity to go in there and really fix some of those key mistakes that they made last week. So we saw a combination of the 2 LSU quarterbacks last week, like I mentioned, with Nussmeier and Van Buren coming into the game. It was mentioned by Coach Wilson that we will see both of them tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, but it was not mentioned who will start the contest for LSU. So who do you think starts, and how do you think LSU will go about this 2-quarterback system?
Well, Garrett Nussmeier's going to start. He's been your starter all season long. There's no doubt in my mind that he starts the game tomorrow, even with him re-aggravating that injury in practice this week. But I do expect Michael Van Buren to play a very, very, very increased role in this offense. We saw him play halfway through pretty much 3/4 of the second half last week. I mean, and it didn't look great, but it looked better. So there was some new life with him at quarterback. I'm curious to see if they rotate, if they switch him out, or if it's the same thing we've seen all season where when Nuss goes out, Van Buren stays in the rest of the game. The other thing is Van Buren's about to burn his red shirt. He's got one game left he can play in. So what do they do with that? Do they let him play against Arkansas and shut him down for the rest of the season, or do they let him keep going, keep getting reps, and hope he stays next season? It'll be really interesting to see what they do from a coaching perspective and what those conversations they're having with him right now.
And that's the crucial point, Will, because they don't want to burn him out too early when we don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the season. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we will see him get increased reps, but ultimately Nussmeier will start because he is the leader of the team. But we will see Van Buren come in a little bit earlier, but not as much as he really should.
I think we're going to see a lot of Van Buren tomorrow. I think it's going to be a very mixed-up game with a lot of quarterback changes. And look, I would not be shocked at all if he's your starting quarterback tomorrow, especially with the re-aggravated injury. I think we will see both of them. And, yes, with one more game. He is able to play in this game. Yes. He's able to play fully in this game, and then after this game, if he plays one more, his redshirt eligibility is rinsed. So I think for Van Buren and this LSU team, I think it doesn't hurt. You need to win this game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you're an LSU fan or if you're an LSU player or coach, this is a game that just has to be won. You're the better football team. You have the better roster on paper, and it's just one of them things where you have to be the better football team. And I think Van Buren gives you an opportunity to do so. Nussmeier did go 18 for 21, but only 121 yards on the 121 yards on the game before getting pulled after taking a sack late in the third quarter. So, kind of what is necessarily my carry-on question is, where do you think LSU goes for this with Van Buren?
Well, and that is the big question. Like, how involved do you want him to be? He's not the greatest passer, but Nuss hasn't been the greatest either in the past game. But what he does offer far more than Garrett is his pocket presence, his mobility in the pocket. He's able to move around. He can navigate the pocket better. Overall, he is the better fit for this team right now. If they had a more experienced offensive line, a better offensive line, Garrett Nussmeier would probably not be struggling as much as he is. But it's just unfortunate how it's unfolded. So I do think he will play more, like you mentioned, and I think they'll have more success with him at quarterback, not because he's necessarily more talented, but he's a better fit right now.
Well, and Nussmeier's just hurt, man. And if you don't think that, you're just not watching closely enough, because this man is struggling out there. And you mentioned the offensive line, who has just been struggling all year long and not able to complete anything. So with those teams struggling in their respective units, LSU struggling on the offensive end all year, and Arkansas struggling on the defensive side of the ball all year, what does this Arkansas defense need to do to get after a struggling LSU offense? Same thing for the LSU offense versus this Arkansas defense.
Well, all the Razorbacks really need to do is just rush the ball. LSU doesn't really have a run game established. If they can force turnovers and distract plays and do everything they do for that, it's an easy game for them.
Yeah, I agree. It's important that they apply pressure. LSU's offensive line isn't going to be able to stop a 5-man, 6-man, 7-man rush. They're just not. For LSU, you do need to establish a run game. There is no doubt in my mind that for them to win this game, they need to rush for over 150 yards. That might be a tall ask, but this Arkansas defense is not very good. One thing that I did see last week is they moved the ball a little bit better. They got into the red zone 4 times, so just take advantage of those opportunities. Arkansas, apply pressure. LSU, take advantage when the defense gives you something.
But the problem is this offense has gotten into the red zone multiple times this season, and it's honestly been pretty consistent. The thing that's inconsistent is they cannot find the end zone. It's like they're repellent to it. And so it's one of those things where you just have to find a way to push that ball across the pylon. It's plain and simple.
It's finishing there.
It's finishing. And you go back and you look at the Tuscaloosa game against against Alabama, and you just see them get into the end zone. You go back and watch the highlights, and you see them on the 5-yard line, and it's first and goal from the 5, and you're like, okay, there's no way they don't score here, and they don't score. And so it's you have, if you get opportunities, you have to do it. And this is a defense that, is just not that good for Arkansas and has struggled all year. But they can score points, and so if you're not able to put the ball in the end zone, you're going to get hurt.
But I don't want to blame Nussmeier completely. It's our O-line, and we have to get more aggressive, and we have to do what we have to do on that offensive line to be able to score and win games.
And you're right. It's not completely on Nussmeier, but I think the way the ball has been moved in Nussmeier's regime here this season kind of shows you that something might need to change a little bit. All right. So, give me your two key players for the Arkansas defense and then your two key players for the LSU offense.
I've got Gilreath. I mean, he's pretty good. He's leading in tackles. He's a transfer from Georgia. He has the ability, what they need to do for win. And then I have Steven Dix Jr. He's a player that our offense is going to have to watch because he can disrupt any play.
Well, I have Julian Neal. He has 2 interceptions on the season. The senior veteran defensive back. He's good in coverage. Nowhere near as good as Mansour Delane, but he's still not bad at all. And then I have Philip Neal. He leads the team in sacks, 3.5, which isn't a lot, but against a team like LSU, there's an opportunity for him to add to that total.
Yeah, I've got one of each. I got Julian and I got Sori, and I just think that the 2 interceptions that they bring from Julian, and then obviously the Sori with 69 tackles on the year, leading the team. 2 great players on this defensive side of the ball. And they're going to give this offense trouble. This is a defense that has struggled, like we mentioned, but they do have talent. And I think it's more of just a unit thing where they struggle, playing as a complete unit instead of playing in that individual kind of aspect of the game. So for the LSU offense, what do we got?
Well, I have Harlan Berry and Trades Green. The reason I have those 2 is, like I said, I think they need to establish a very strong run game. I think they're going to need their best rushing performance of the season tomorrow night. I say that because I think Michael Van Buren is going to play a lot, and I think he's going to add rushing yards and expand the rushing game for you there. Then I have Trades Green. I look for him to bounce back. He made a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes last week. He dropped an easy first down, but, well, it sealed the game. So that's a guy that I think is going to look to get some sort of revenge, some sort of confidence. Look, they threw him a 50-50 ball. Must threw him a 50-50 ball. It was a little underthrown. Defensive back made a play. But he's tall, he's vertical, he's aggressive. We've seen what Trades Green can do, and we've seen spurts of what Harlan Berry can do. I want to see them just trust in Harlan Berry. I don't want to see them go away from him like they have been.
Well, Will, you said it last week. I need everyone to be a key player on this team. If everyone is playing at the capacity that they can play, and we know they can play, it's going to be a great game. Everyone has to be locked in. Everyone has to get open, look for the ball, and Nussmeier has to, be Nussmeier. Like, what's happening with him?
Yeah, well, so I think what's happening is he's a hurt player. He's very hurt. He's been hurt all season, and he doesn't have an offensive line to protect him. And I think that's where you kind of bring it in. I think that those 5 guys on the offensive line would be my key players for this team. I think after watching what you saw last week, false start after false start after false start, hurting you, shooting yourself in the foot like you said, just can't happen again this week. And you're in your final SEC home game of the season. We've kind of talked to Wes Weeks, we've talked to Garrett Nussmeier, and you've heard some of these seniors and these veterans say how much it means to wear LSU on their chest, and you have one more chance to do it in SEC play at home, and it's all going to come down to this offensive line. But at the end of the day, you also need to find your playmakers, and Xavier Thomas has been so quiet. Other than that Vanderbilt game, you just haven't really heard his name get called that much this year, and it's time for him. I think they're going to be able to find him over across the middle. I think that's what they need to look for, but you have to give your quarterback time in the pocket. So let's move to the defense for LSU against this Arkansas offense. This LSU defense showed lots of good signs last week against the Crimson Tide in holding the Tide to 20 points, which was their second lowest scoring performance all season. LSU has to be ready once again to perform on the defensive end of the ball as Arkansas brings in an offense that can just really score the ball. They can score points all over the place, and they have all season. The Razorbacks have only scored below 20 points one time this season, and that was against Notre Dame. So quarterback Tailgate Green has 2,372 yards on the year with 19 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. So he also has a QBR of 86.3, which, believe it or not, is 5th in the entire country amongst quarterbacks. So how does LSU slow this man down who has just had an incredible season?
I mean, he's a dangerous throw-threat quarterback. You talk about his records right now. The defensive line cannot allow him to escape the pocket. That's where he gets dangerous. And as someone who can also run, you have to keep your eye on him. That's when you have to have your spot is like, let's say, Mansorter Lane. He can easily come in and guard that. It's all about forcing him into quick throws and a compressed pocket.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that he's a quarterback of a 2-7 team and is one of the most efficient players in all of college football. That's just how this Arkansas team has been this season. And he's got something that LSU has struggled with all season. He's a mobile quarterback. He's got 6 rushing touchdowns. He kind of is their entire offense, but he does it very, very well. He, like you mentioned, has over 2,000 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, only has thrown 8 interceptions. He's not overly aggressive, but he's smart.
He's so smart, and you don't get the 5th best QBR rating in the country by not being a smart quarterback and careful with the ball. So I think he is really going to show a lot of signs of that quarterback that really just gives LSU trouble. That dual threat opportunity is going to be huge for Arkansas, but how does LSU slow them down and this offense down, especially Tailgate Green down? How do they do it? Well, I think the first step is getting pressure. You have to apply pressure, and we're going to talk about key players, but Harold Perkins, I'm already just going to spoil it. You got to have your day, young fella. You had an amazing game after a little struggle the week before against Alabama. You were probably the best offensive player on the line or in that field of 11 last week. That needs to show up again. This is a type of quarterback where you need to get after the QB. You got to wrap up. You got to tackle. You have an opportunity to make him lose yards. You have to make him lose yards. You can't let him break away and break tackles.
And it was the Arkansas game, Perkins' freshman year, where he really made a name for himself. Mm-hmm. He had those 2 forced fumbles. He was just everywhere. And it's a very similar type of quarterback, very similar situation, honestly. I think he's going to have not a breakout game, but it'll be the game of the season.
Well, so we've seen great performances and not the best performances from this defense, especially when playing high-level offenses. So how is this offense from Arkansas going to beat this LSU defense?
They have to be balanced. They have to contain, and they have to keep LSU's, their offense off the field. If they can capitalize off of that, they'll be good.
I just think they have to run the ball. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it is broke, then attack it. And LSU's, dual threat defensive style, it's not there. And quarterbacks, Marcel Reed took advantage of it. They did a good job against Lenore Sellers. But Tailgate Green is playing way better than Lenore Sellers. And so
Tailgate Green's Tailgate Green, has just been incredible.
Yeah.
And we talked about it. We talked about his statistics, but it's not enough. This man has gone into difficult places and scored lots and lots of points. And you mentioned him being not really their only form of offense, but pretty much all of it.
Yep.
And so when that happens and you're going up against a guy that, has produced so much offense and given teams a lot of trouble the way he has performed, there's only one way to do it, and there's only one thing you can do, and that's stop that man. And you got to figure out how to do it. I think if they are able to get to Green, it's going to be a decent night for LSU, or a decent day, I should say. But what do you think? I think that's a good opportunity for the Tigers.
I mean, they were able to slow down the North Sellers, and that won them the game. It's stop that one guy, and especially when it's a quarterback and your whole offense shuts down. So if they can slow him down, which is a big ask, but this is a very talented defense, so they're absolutely capable of doing that. And also, if they can force those turnovers, like we said, he's very smart, but he's human. He's going to make mistakes. Take advantage of those very few mistakes he might make.
Yeah, but I feel like it's for the defense. They just have to play smart. They can do it. They just have to play smart.
All right, well, 2 key players from this LSU defense and then 2 key players from this Arkansas offense.
So we already talked about Harry Perkins, so I'm going to say Patrick Payton. I mean, he can come in, he can rush the ball, he can get that sack if he really wanted to. He's my key defensive player for this team.
Oh, well, I'm going to say Perk again. I've said Perk a lot this season. I'll keep doing it. They need him to play to his full talent, to his full potential tomorrow. And then I'm also going to say AJ Halsey.
Best safety.
He's the best safety in college football. There's nothing else for me to say there.
Harold Perkins, it's a consensus for all of us. So I think Harold Perkins is your guy for this LSU defense, has to be your guy. And then also I'm going to go to Marcus Cooley. Okay. I think Cooley, obviously we talk about A.J. Halsey, but I think Cooley's going to bring in a different aspect this game. He's going to have to be a better tackler. He's going to have to go in and make that open field tackle when come, because that is going to happen. There's going to be a breakout play at some point in this game for Arkansas, and your last resort is either Halsey or Cooley, and they have to make those plays. And so I'm expecting to see that a lot today. So for this LSU offense, I'll go ahead, or for the LSU defense, or for the Arkansas offense, I should say. Sorry, I'm going to go with Taylor Green for my first one. I think he's everything, as we've talked about for this offense for Arkansas, and I just think that, he continues to impress and raise that draft stock.
I have Taylor Green, and I also have Mike Washington. Mike Washington's their leading rusher. He has 6 touchdowns, level with Taylor there. So, like I said, they're going to pound the ground. They're going to attack you. They're going to run the ball a lot. Slow those 2 down.
Yeah, and I've got Omega Blake. He's the Razorbacks' leading receiver, and then I've got Raylan Sharp. He's a reliable playmaker. We've seen what he can do in his past few games. They have the ability to move, and they're pretty good in the middle and converting third down. So those are my 2 players.
Well, it's time for some game picks. We can take our time with these game picks. We got about 6 minutes left, so we can kind of take some time and talk about these picks. We got Clemson on the road, going to Louisville, taking on the number 20 team in the nation in the Cardinals. So who do we got?
This Clemson team is very bad. They are not good. Louisville, they have some slip-ups. I don't think tomorrow is one of those slip-ups. I think Louisville wins. I think they win by 2 scores at home. This Clemson team is just bad.
I can agree with that. I've got Louisville. They are favored at home. They have a top 25 run defense. This is a good game for them.
Not so fast. Here we go, fellas. I really think the Tigers get it done. It's a close line. If you look at the gambling books, it's a close line. Everybody's on the Cardinals, and I think this Clemson team is looking for that bounce back. This is a team that feels due for one of those top 25 wins, and I think they can get one on the road at Louisville. I don't think Louisville is that good of a football team. I think they're a little bit overrated. I think having them in the top 25, it might be necessary for what's happening, but I don't think this is a top 25 football team in the country, and I think Dabo and Clemson get that done tomorrow and show the world why that is. Now we move on to Southern California as the number 21 Iowa Hawkeyes are taking on the USC Trojans. Number 21 versus number 17, another top 25 matchup. So who do we got?
I went back and forth on this one. I'm going to go with USC, only because it's at home. This Iowa defense is good. The Iowa defense is always good, but I really believe in this USC team. I think they're a little underrated, and Lincoln Riley is a good coach. That he's going to have that offense ready, so give me the Trojans.
Okay, I've got the Trojans, but this is a classic offense versus defensive game, and I don't think that Iowa will score enough points to keep up with the Trojans. So that's why I've got them. And
I have USC as well. And so congratulations to Iowa on your victory. I have USC as well. I think USC, the offense, like you mentioned, is good. But here's what's going to happen in this game, and here's the way Iowa wins. If Iowa's able to use that defense is very good. If they're able to get stops, I think they're going to be able to score enough if their defense is able to play on par and make this a very close game. I think this is going to be a one-score game come down to the wire. So let's move to, again, Tuscaloosa, number 11, Oklahoma, at number 4, Alabama.
I've got Alabama. This
Okay.
is a revenge game for them. Remember last year's game, upset, so I've got Alabama. They're going to play really hard in their defense. It's going to be what helps win this game. Also, they're coming off the LSU game, so they've got
Great quarterback battle. Great quarterback battle. Ty Simpson, John Mateer.
Ty Simpson, man.
Alabama is too good. Pains me to say it. I think they're the national champion. I think they're absolutely a national championship contender. They are the real deal. The one thing, though, is their past 3 games, they've looked a little sluggish. Against LSU, they could have lost that game. LSU didn't take the opportunities. Against South Carolina, that's a bad South Carolina team, and they only won by 7. So, Oklahoma has an opportunity, but give me the Tide at home.
This is another tough one, and the reason being is because, like you mentioned, how Alabama has struggled over these last few weeks in just showing their dominance. Oklahoma's playing for a lot. I think Alabama can, lose this game and still get in to the college football playoff. Oklahoma loses this game, their season's done. And I think Oklahoma needs this win more than Alabama needs this win, even though this game is in Tuscaloosa. Boomer Sooner. I think that it's going to be a tight game. I could see it going both ways. I can see Alabama winning by 2 scores, and I could see Oklahoma winning by a game-winning field goal. I think that's just 2 things that can happen. I have Oklahoma in this one. Texas at Georgia, number 10 versus number 5.
I've got Georgia. They've got enough to, disrupt the Longhorns passing game, so they're also having a pretty good season. Kirby Smart's leading that team pretty strong, so I've got Georgia. Go Dogs.
What's that coming down the track? Give me the Dogs tomorrow. This Georgia team is very, very good. I think, depending on what happens tomorrow, major SEC playoff implications this week. Not playoff, SEC championship game implications this week. I don't see Kirby Smart losing in Athens. It doesn't happen unless they play Alabama.
Right.
Give me the Dogs. Sick 'em.
It's the mean machine in the red and black.
Yes, it is.
Go Dogs. Yeah, that's what I got. I think this Georgia team is overrated, but good. And I think they are a much better team than Texas is. I think Texas is really kind of finding their groove. I think it is possible that Texas wins this football game. I think they cover the spread, but I do think Georgia wins this football game, and the Dogs will get a big-time home win, top 10 in the SEC. So now the big one, LSU versus Arkansas, unranked battle. LSU, of course, trying to become bowl eligible with a win tomorrow to advance to 6-4. Who we got? 2 unranked opponents.
2 weeks in a row I've picked LSU to lose, and I've been right. So I'm going to pick them to win this week, and hopefully I'll be right. Again, I got the Tigers. I don't see a world where Frank Wilson lets his team, his school, lose to Arkansas at home and lose the boot, even if it is an unranked matchup, even if it is an early morning kickoff.
I've got LSU winning in a landslide by, let's say, 43-21.
Wow.
But what's that?
43?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they can do it. I think this is a game where they're going to score. They're going to fix their errors. Arkansas isn't bad, but LSU can beat them.
LSU can 100% beat them. It's going to come down to what this offense is able to do. If this offense can score 43 points, of course they're going to win this football game. Do I think they're going to score 43 points? No, I do not. I think this is a team that no matter what opportunity you give them, they're just going to struggle on the offensive side of the ball. Although I do have LSU winning this football game, I have the score of 28-17. I think 4 touchdowns is going to be enough. I think the defense helps you out. I do think it's going to be a scare in that first half, and it's going to be kind of a fourth quarter win for this LSU team. But yeah, that's what I got. I got LSU in a close one, but they win by 11. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us here today. I just want to thank the entire LSU communications staff for allowing us to do this at Tiger Stadium, especially Michael Barnett and Kent Lowe. Thanks to Will and Kai, as always, for joining us. Be here next week for our last episode of the KLSU Tailgate Show. I'm Michael Poggi, and you're listening to the KLSU Tailgate Show.